How can one reckless rider, in just a few minutes, turn a peaceful morning in Georgia into a public safety crisis? And what does this story reveal about America today?
Where's Fulton?
On most mornings, Gottby Road is the definition of uneventful. Trees on both sides, a few small shops, a steady flow of traffic. Officers assigned to this route usually prepare themselves for boredom, not chaos. It's the kind of road where people sip their coffee, check the computer in the patrol car, and wait for the next call. Maybe that's exactly why what happened that day felt so shocking. Because in just 3 seconds, a completely calm morning exploded into chaos. One moment, the officer was driving slowly, following the law. The next moment, a dirt bike with no license plate shot past like a rocket, wobbling and ignoring every basic rule of safety. That rider wasn't just speeding. He wasn't just careless. He was deliberately challenging everything, weaving, jerking the handlebars like he was starring in some cheap action movie. When the officer switched on his lights, the rider turned his head, gave a mocking smile, and flipped him off. From that moment on, it was no longer a simple patrol. It was a situation that could kill someone. A lot of Americans don't really understand how fast a small situation like that can escalate, but officers do. Anyone who has ever worked in Fulton, Clayton, or Fayette County knows one small violation, a missing plate, a sudden burst of speed can light the fuse for a life-threatening pursuit. That day, the spark was a man who believed the law didn't apply to him. Why riders like this are becoming a nationwide problem in America? Before we continue with the details of the chase, we need to understand a bigger truth. This is not an isolated incident. It's part of a growing trend. Across the United States, from Baltimore to Atlanta, from Chicago to Los Angeles, a dangerous culture has been spreading. Groups of young people on dirt bikes, ATVs, or stunt bikes taking over the streets, racing wildly, weaving through traffic, taunting police, and treating traffic laws like they don't exist. Police in many states have released reports showing that these vehicles are often unregistered, without license plates, uninsured, driven by people without a valid license, traveling at extremely high speeds. And in many cases, the riders are carrying weapons. In other words, they are high-risk individuals even before they commit any other crime. In many big cities, people have become used to seeing packs of dirt bikes tearing through downtown, blocking intersections, drag racing, swerving around cars, and showing off tricks. They believe, and often they're right, that police will hold back from chasing them, out of fear of causing a deadly crash. But here's the dangerous part. When offenders know police don't want to pursue them, they become even more reckless. And what happened on Gottby Road that day is a perfect example. The moment he crossed from reckless to potentially deadly. When the dirt bike flew past the patrol car, the officer didn't immediately launch into an aggressive chase.
Everyone, we're in pursuit of it, Southampton Road.
He followed proper procedure. Observe, signal the rider to stop, assess the risk. Police departments across America have learned painful lessons from past high-speed pursuits and don't want to escalate situations unless they have to. But this suspect escalated it himself. Instead of slowing down, even for a moment, he turned the bike around in the middle of the road, headed straight toward the patrol car, mocked the officer again, and then gunned the throttle toward the Fulton County line. That one action changed everything. This wasn't a scared kid who panicked. This wasn't someone just afraid of a ticket. This was a man who was deliberately defying the law and ignoring other people's lives. When he crossed into Fulton County, he wasn't just committing traffic violations anymore. He turned the entire roadway into his personal stage, as if everyone around him were just background extras in his reckless little show. And he was wrong. Most Americans don't often think about this, but in Germany, a situation like this is almost impossible. Not rare, practically impossible. Why? Because Germany's traffic enforcement system cuts off this kind of danger at the root. Dirt bikes are not allowed on public streets unless they meet strict technical standards. Vehicles without plates are dealt with immediately. Fleeing from police almost certainly means jail time. Urban street design doesn't allow for high-speed weaving and stunts. Public opinion is extremely harsh toward people who openly disregard traffic laws. In short, infrastructure plus law plus culture in Germany do not allow an out-of-control street culture like this to grow.
Alright, coming back up to Gottby's. Black hoodie, black helmet.
In America, though, a combination of factors: wide highways, open residential layouts, patchwork rules between counties, legal gray areas, and a social media-driven urge to show off, all work together to make incidents like this more and more common. This is not just the fault of one rider. It's a symptom of something deeper in American society: freedom without responsibility. After the officer radioed in, backup units began moving into position. Georgia is no stranger to multi-county pursuits, especially when suspects deliberately cross boundaries to create confusion. But the most shocking moment came at the entrance to Fulton County, where supporting units had set up a soft roadblock. The suspect saw the blockade. He hesitated for 1 second, and then made the worst decision of the entire incident. He jerked the handlebars and drove straight into oncoming traffic. Dozens of drivers were suddenly forced to shoot up onto the grass shoulder, slam on their brakes, yank the wheel to avoid hitting him. Or come to a dead stop right in the middle of the road. Those people could have been a mother taking her child to school, a worker heading in for a shift, an elderly person driving to a medical appointment, a high school student on the way to class. None of them had any idea that their lives were being put at risk by one man, running from the police. That single moment turned the chase from dangerous into a potential mass casualty event. All it would have taken is one driver reacting a little too slowly, one cyclist entering the lane at the wrong time, one SUV drifting half a tire's width out of its lane. And today, we might be talking about bodies, not an arrest. Why did the suspect deliberately provoke the police? There's a detail in the initial report that sounds small, but is extremely important. He stood all the way up on the bike while it was still moving and turned around to provoke the officers behind him. What does that behavior tell us? Criminal psychology experts have documented a troubling trend. Many suspects see being chased by police as a chance to show off, not as a desperate attempt to escape. They don't run to get away. They run to perform. In the age of social media, some young people honestly believe that. The crazier they are, the more viral they'll go. The more they defy police, the more respect they'll get in their group. Police won't chase them all the way. Dashcam footage or bystander videos will make them famous. That mindset turns public roads into a dangerous stage and turns ordinary citizens into unwilling victims. That's exactly why many American officers now see dirt bike culture not just as a traffic issue, but as a systemic public safety threat. When the suspect looped back into Clayton County, the risk level shot up again. Video and audio from the patrol car captured him cutting in front of cars with just inches to spare, forcing drivers onto the grass or making them slam on their brakes in the middle of the lane. 2 stop signs, he blew straight through them. A red light at SR 314, he acted like it wasn't even there. These are the kinds of moments that never make it into big headlines, but they're exactly why so many officers describe their work like this. We are always just one decision away from disaster. Movies make people think a pursuit is just sirens and speed. In real life, especially in America, every pursuit is a risk calculation, a terrain assessment, a prediction of what the suspect might do, an evaluation of traffic density, an inter-county coordination problem, and a constant question: is this guy armed? Police don't want to escalate, but they also can't just let someone like this keep endangering the public. That's the corner they get pushed into. On Norman Boulevard, things finally began to shift. Traffic thinned out. Units were positioned more effectively. The suspect started to tire, lose intensity, and make mistakes. That was the moment the officers had been waiting for. They closed in, not to ram him, but to force him to lose speed. The plan worked. He turned off into the grass, lost balance, dropped the bike, and raised his hands in surrender. But the most dangerous detail was only discovered afterward. He was carrying a Glock 34. The gun wasn't listed as stolen, but that didn't make it any less serious. A reckless rider, fleeing at high speed, and carrying a gun. That's a recipe for tragedy. One slip on the pavement, one panicked movement, one moment of misunderstanding, and it could all have ended in gunfire. This is not just a weird chase, not just some crazy rider. This is a snapshot of a much larger problem in American society. Public safety is being threatened not only by criminals, but by a culture that glorifies defiance and downplays consequences. When someone puts their ego, their thrill, or their need to feel cool above the lives of dozens of other people on the road, that's no longer immaturity. That is a conscious, dangerous choice. And the fact that he was carrying a gun makes the whole thing even more chilling. This story matters because it forces us to face some uncomfortable truths. America's streets are becoming less and less safe. Officers are being put into impossible, no-win situations. Social media is inflating the egos of reckless people. Innocent citizens are being put at risk just because someone wants an adrenaline rush. This chase never should have happened, but because it did, it exposes real weaknesses that America has to confront. We often judge police officers only by the last moment. Did they catch the suspect or not? But in reality, their work is a chain of complex decisions made second by second under extreme pressure. In this dirt bike pursuit, officers couldn't just ram the bike or use a pit maneuver like they might with a car. The dirt bike was too light, too small, and too responsive. Even a light tap could have launched the rider off the bike and into another vehicle or under the wheels of a pickup behind him. So there was no quick fix. They had to keep just enough distance to discourage him from doing something even more extreme. Avoid applying so much pressure that he panicked and drove straight into a crowd. Calculate turns, traffic flow, and potential routes in real time. Coordinate across different jurisdictions, spreading units along the path instead of clumping them together. Especially after he went into oncoming traffic, they faced a moral dilemma. Do they keep chasing to try to contain him, or back off and risk him becoming even more dangerous. If they backed off, he could keep racing, keep threatening people. There was no guarantee he would stop on his own, and certainly no guarantee the public would be safe. If they stayed on him, the risk of a crash increased. That's the kind of burden viewers rarely feel when they watch these videos online. It's the situation many American officers describe this way. There is no right choice, only the choice that's less wrong. To really understand this incident, you have to zoom out to the national picture. For years now, cities like Baltimore, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Houston, Los Angeles have been warning that urban dirt bike groups are becoming a serious problem. These groups often gather in packs of dozens, sometimes hundreds, riding illegally, racing, blocking intersections, harassing residents, and even attacking cars or confronting officers. In some cases, dirt bikes are used to transport drugs, carry weapons, scout police activity, escape crime scenes, because dirt bikes are hard to stop and can slip through narrow streets and alleys. This culture has been growing because 1. No registration, no plates, very hard to identify the rider. 2. Bikes are relatively cheap. Young people can easily buy them. 3. Social media glorifies street takeovers. The crazier you are, the more fame you get. 4. Many local governments severely restrict police from pursuing motorcycles, creating a false sense of safety for offenders. All of this together has turned dirt bike riders into a kind of symbol of lawlessness in the city, and it's making many Americans feel like their streets are no longer truly safe. The chase in Georgia is the clearest example of this. One man on an unplated bike managed to paralyze an entire roadway and put dozens of innocent people at risk. To understand how dangerous this really is, we can look back at a few cases from the past decade. Baltimore, 2016. A group of nearly 50 dirt bikes flooded an intersection, surrounded a car, and a woman was almost beaten just for honking her horn. Atlanta, 2020. A rider fleeing from police hit a pedestrian head-on. The pedestrian died on the spot. Houston, 2022. An armed biker crashed while trying to escape. His gun discharged and injured both him and a nearby civilian. Portland, 2023. A group of unplated bikes completely took over a bridge, trapping hundreds of drivers for nearly 30 minutes. All of these examples point to a painful truth. When drivers don't respect the law, society pays the price. The Georgia chase, thankfully, did not end in death, but that doesn't mean it was not serious. It was only luck. A lot of people who watch these videos might say, "It's just some crazy biker, what's the big deal?" But the fact that officers found a Glock 34 changes the story entirely. A Glock 34 is a handgun that has a longer barrel, more accuracy, holds a large capacity magazine, is used by many SWAT units, is popular among gun enthusiasts because of its power. So the question naturally arises, why is a man with no license, no plate, and completely out of control driving around with a gun like that? There is no way to know what he planned to do. There's no guarantee he wouldn't have panicked and pulled the gun. There's no guarantee this wouldn't have turned from traffic pursuit into an armed confrontation. A minor collision alone could have caused him to fire in panic. A single misunderstanding while officers tried to detain him could have led to shots being fired. That's why pursuits like this are so terrifying for law enforcement. At the end of that chase, they might be walking up to a man with a gun, unstable, and fully capable of doing something irrational. Many Americans feel like their streets are increasingly being taken over by people who simply don't care about the rules. Every time they see a pursuit video like this, they go through the same emotions: anger, worry, unease, exhaustion. They ask themselves, what if my family had been in that lane? What if he had slammed into my car? Why is someone like that allowed to ride freely on public roads? Who is the system actually protecting, the public or the offender? These questions aren't just being asked in Georgia. They're echoing in every major city in America. In recent years, many jurisdictions have tightened pursuit policies to reduce risk. That's the right decision ethically, but it also convinces a lot of reckless riders that the cops aren't going to chase me. That mindset is exactly what leads to so many tragic crashes. Officers, meanwhile, are caught between pressure from the public demanding safety, pressure from groups opposing pursuits, pressure from local politicians, and pressure from the harsh reality on the street. And in the middle of all of that, they still have to make a life or death decision in 1 or 2 seconds. There is no other job like that. There is no situation that is truly easy. What does this chase tell us about America? This incident is more than just a traffic story. It's a reminder that America is facing 1. A street safety crisis. In many places, people no longer feel that the roads are truly safe. 2. The rise of a culture of defiance and zero accountability. A whole segment of young people think it's cool to challenge the police. 3. A legal system that hasn't kept up with reality. Old pursuit rules don't really fit small, fast, highly maneuverable bikes like dirt bikes. 4. Social media pouring gasoline on the fire. A reckless person only needs 15 seconds of video to become a street legend. 5. Police being pushed into tougher choices than ever before. They can't freely pursue, but they can't just look away either. This is a social problem that needs real solutions. We can't just leave ordinary people exposed on dangerous streets and hope for the best. That chase ended with no injuries. That's luck, not a pattern we can rely on. That day, everything was lucky. Drivers managed to dodge him. Traffic happened to be light. The suspect didn't crash into another car. The gun stayed holstered. Officers stayed calm and controlled. But what about next time? How many other chases won't end this way? How many families will pay the price for someone else's need for excitement? How many officers will have to face an armed suspect, all because of a minor violation at the start? That's something America has to take seriously. This chase forces a bigger question. How safe do Americans really want their streets to be? If society truly wants safer roads, it will require tougher laws on unregistered dirt bikes, clear pursuit policies that offenders can't easily exploit, public education about the dangers of illegal riding, better technology to identify suspects without always relying on high-speed pursuits, and a stronger sense of responsibility from ordinary citizens. The Georgia chase is not just another news clip. It's a warning that laws only matter when people respect them, and when society is willing to defend them. One dirt bike rider, one Glock 34, and one seemingly peaceful morning almost turned into a tragedy, but it also exposed a deeper truth. America is standing at a crossroads between order and chaos. This chase is not a small thing. It's a mirror reflecting much larger problems bubbling beneath the surface of American freedom. And if America doesn't act one day, the next video won't end as fortunately as this one did. Thank you for staying with us all the way to the end. If this story made you think, if it made you feel that America is changing every day and that we need to better understand what's really happening out there, then please don't leave without hitting subscribe. Click like, subscribe, and the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming in-depth analysis videos. Every single subscription from you is motivation for us to keep bringing honest, clear, and meaningful content to the community. We'll see you in the next video. wishing you safety and peace wherever you travel. Goodbye, and see you next time.
Coming up in 5.